This is our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe, and we've had it for a little bit over a year and just over 20,000 miles. And in that time, we've discovered a lot of things about this plug-in hybrid Jeep: the good, the bad, and sadly, the broken. In this video, we're going to cover the things that we like, the things that we didn't like, and of course, all of the occasions on which the 4xe just stopped working.
Winning.
That's 3 tows in 1 year. So while our time with the Jeep has been uneven, to put it very, very nicely, our staff was still able to find plenty of nice things to say about the 4xe.
Most of my daily driving is taking the kids to school or running errands, and I could accomplish all of that and have plenty of range left over.
He's right. If you have home charging and your day-to-day routine doesn't require too much driving, then yeah, you can basically treat the 4xe like an electric vehicle. I'm driving it on electric power now, and this is actually when I think the Jeep kind of drives and behaves the best. Now, the problem that you're going to run into is that even though it has an EPA estimated 26 miles of electric range, in our testing, that number comes down to about 20. So if you are going to run on the highway for a while, like most plug-in hybrids, the 4xe is less efficient at those speeds. So you're probably going to get more range if you're only doing city driving, sort of like I'm doing now.
When it's fully charged, our Grand Cherokee 4xe is seriously quick. It's certainly quicker than it used to be with the old V8.
It proved itself at our test track as well, where the 4xe was a full second quicker to 60 than the Grand Cherokee that we tested with the Hemi. It is worth noting that those acceleration runs were done with the battery fully charged. When the battery is empty, the 4xe doesn't feel quite as powerful. And that's not to say that it ever really feels sluggish, but you're not going to get the same hard charging acceleration that you will when the battery is all juiced up.
The interior of the last generation Grand Cherokee always felt really cheap to me, like Tupperware with fake leather hot glued to it. The new one on the inside looks and feels about 1,000% nicer.
Will is definitely right about one thing. This interior is a big improvement over the previous Grand Cherokee. But for me, there is a bit of a problem with it in that there's still a ton of plastic, and when you consider that we paid over $60,000 for this vehicle, the fact that it has some of the worst fake wood that I've ever seen is a bit disconcerting. However, if you look around this interior though, there are plenty of fun features that we found.
The rear entertainment system actually works as advertised. You're able to stream YouTube, Netflix, and you're even able to plug in your own device through the HDMI. I see where that can be a great thing on long road trips. My son actually loved it.
I like this guy. It's very cool that we can do this in the back of the Jeep Grand Cherokee because it's hard to find a vehicle that offers a rear entertainment system that isn't a minivan or a 3-row SUV. And on top of the 2 entertainment screens you're going to get in the rear, you're also getting a 3rd entertainment screen for the front passenger, so everyone can enjoy some content on the go. Now, one thing we should note is that if you want to stream video, you're going to have to sort of do it one of 2 ways. First is buy a data plan from Jeep, which I don't really recommend. And the second is I'm actually tethered right now to my mobile phone using it as a hotspot. Don't have to pay any extra for that, so I like option B.
And now it's time to get into a few things that we didn't like so much.
So the thing about a plug-in hybrid is that they have an electric motor and a gas engine. And in the best plug-ins on the road, it's actually hard to tell when it switches from electric to gas power. But in the Grand Cherokee, you can definitely tell.
So we're getting on the highway now, and this is where sort of the Grand Cherokee has to blend electric and gas power, and that's where it really runs into trouble. I think that when you're actually driving it in just electric or in a mode where the gas engine's kind of on all the time, it does okay, but it's those transitions between the two where it feels very clunky. It kind of makes the car lurch forward and back a little bit while you're doing it. It just makes it feel really sort of inelegant, and there are other plug-in hybrids out there that offer a much more seamless experience.
I took the Jeep on a road trip to Las Vegas with a bunch of my girlfriends, and we all got incredibly car sick. We had to even pull over at one point just so my friend could get out and actually bleh. The brakes in the Jeep are also super soft and vague. It's impossible to tell when the brakes are going to be applied or not, when you're going to roll, when you're going to stop. And I just don't want to have the guesswork.
Now, our editors were also not enthused about the 4xe's ride quality. It's actually a bit stiff, which is kind of not what you would expect from an SUV like this, but it's stiff without any real gains in performance, because I wouldn't say that this is a good handling vehicle. It makes it a bit bouncy in places, and you might expect it to be a bit more comfortable since you are in a high-riding SUV. Our staff also didn't really like the seats, especially the back seats. They're very flat, so they don't actually really hold you in, and during turns, you can feel yourself sliding around in the back. The thing that I really don't like about driving the Grand Cherokee 4xe is actually the steering feel, and it's too heavy. It just makes it very difficult to drive the car around in parking lots, and I wish that the steering feel was about maybe 50% lighter.
The Grand Cherokee's interior photographs really well, but once you start poking around, it feels really cheap. The worst offender is the fake wood trim, which doesn't fall to the lows of our old long-term Yugo, but it's not far off.
He name dropped the Yugo. That's cold-blooded.
The cargo area is nicely shaped. It is, in a way, ideal for fitting a lot of suitcases, good for family road trips. However, I did notice that the cargo area floor is pretty high, so if you've got a heavy item, heavy suitcase, you have to put some muscle into it to lift that item up.
You were right, Brent. That is too high, and I am tired already. The Edmunds long-term fleet is pretty large, so it's not uncommon for us to have a vehicle or two that might need a repair or spend some downtime. However, it's safe to say that no other vehicle in recent memory has left us stranded as many times as our Grand Cherokee 4xe.
So I walk out to the Jeep and it won't start. Not only that, but there's no power to literally anything. The doors won't unlock, the lights won't turn on, the screens won't turn on. It is dead. Oh, and this is Christmas Eve, by the way. Like, I need to be somewhere. So I call AAA to see if they'll give it a jump. And when they come and they do, hey, it turns on, but it won't hold a charge. As soon as they pull the leads off, everything's flat again. Nothing works. Eventually, we got it loaded onto a flatbed, but it's not as easy as it sounds because the shift mechanism is electronic. We loaded it onto the flatbed and the electronics went completely haywire out of nowhere. There was like lights flashing on the dash and the center screen was like freaking out. We eventually heard back from the dealership and it seemed super simple. There was just one dead cell in the 12-volt battery. And so it was replaced under warranty for free, no problem. But still, it was super uncool to be left stranded on Christmas Eve.
And evidently, we did something else to anger the Jeep gods because our problems continued into the new year.
So I was using the Grand Cherokee as a support vehicle for our U-Drag shoot.
U-Drag's videos are awesome, and you should like and subscribe so you don't miss a single one.
I had to check a camera, so I hopped in it, pressed the button, dead, nothing. We were able to jump it, but the dash was full of lights and it was stuck in limp mode. So after a week, the dealer had called us, told us that they had cleared the codes and that we were good to go. We suggested that they took it for a longer test drive, and lo and behold, it went into limp mode again and went back to the dealer.
After that, we finally got a call from the dealership and they figured out what was wrong with our Jeep. Then we went up to Fresno, picked up the vehicle, drove it back to our offices in Los Angeles where it worked perfectly for a little while.
You know how the drive home from a trip is always much worse than the drive there? Well, we had that experience with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It was a great weekend of camping, but on the drive back, we basically got every single warning light that the Jeep could possibly throw at us. The Jeep wouldn't go anywhere, and we had to get the thing towed again. Thankfully, new Jeep owners have access to a concierge program called Jeep Wave, and after constant communication, shout out Michelle, we were able to get the Jeep from the service center back into our garage in just 3 days. When we got the Jeep back, they had rotated the tires, changed the oil, fixed some recalls, and replaced the connector lock as part of the parking assist module. Apparently, that was the culprit.
All of these repairs were completed under warranty, so they didn't actually cost us anything. However, after just over a year of ownership and with the Jeep having spent 20 days in the shop, its reputation around our office was a bit tarnished. When Kurt, a member of our testing team, heard that we'd be filming a wrap-up video of the 4xe, he told me that this was the only vehicle in our long-term fleet that he was afraid to take home because of its reliability issues. And that is saying something because we also own a Fisker.
I'm by winning.
Now, you might be saying to yourself, Brian, these are isolated incidents. Surely all Jeep Grand Cherokees can't be this unreliable. Maybe you guys just bought a lemon. And while we can't make any definitive statements about the Jeep's overall propensity for problematic behavior, what we can say is that if you take a look at the user reviews on Edmunds.com, we weren't alone. Of the submitted reviews of the Grand Cherokee, 15 of them gave it one single solitary star out of 5. They reported things like getting stranded, jerky power delivery from the plug-in hybrid powertrain, and disappointing electric range, all things that we've experienced in our ownership of this vehicle. They also reported excessive road noise, difficulty with public charging, and multiple folks also said that they had to make lemon law claims for their vehicles as well. Now, it wasn't all bad. There were some 5-star reviews mixed in there, with users praising the SUV's smooth ride and appreciating the convenience of the plug-in hybrid. But if you read them all, it becomes clear that we weren't the only ones experiencing some buyer's remorse about our 4xe.
As we do with all of our long-termers when it's time to say goodbye, we took the 4xe in to get an appraisal. Now, we purchased it for $64,150 in February 2023, and since then, we've put just under 24,000 miles on it. And today, our offer was $33,000. You heard that right. It means the value has dropped about 50% in just 18 months. And thankfully, all of those repairs we mentioned earlier were done under warranty, so our maintenance costs were kept low. Otherwise, this would have been an even costlier endeavor.
So after a year or so with the Grand Cherokee 4xe, it is time to bid it adieu. And the thing that we will remember the most about it is probably the amount of times that it broke down. This may have been something that we could have looked past a little bit more if the rest of the vehicle was better. But beyond its rear seat entertainment party trick, there's not really a lot about the Grand Cherokee 4xe that we found compelling. And even the good things about it often came along with something negative as well. Add all that up, and it's safe to say that our time with the Jeep was a disappointment. But hopefully, since we're selling it, that means that we can replace it with something a bit more exciting in the near future. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to keep up with all the members of the Edmunds long-term fleet.